Welcome to the Four Brewers podcast. My name is John Holzer, and as always, I am joined by
Jason Harris
and Tim Mather.
This week on the show, we've got another episode full of really, really good random beer. I might add preface to that random beer sentence. We've got some stuff from Firestone Walker. We've got some stuff from Brewery West. Stone Brewing Company sent us some beers, which is still I'm taken back every time I get beer from them, considering how much shit we've talked about Stone, but I'll take it.
They've never listened once.
Well, no, but they've interacted with us online enough and on email to know that we're very critical of them, and they know. I've talked to Lizzie over email about it, so they know.
I mean, just because you're critical of them doesn't mean that they're not going to get any PR. We're still talking about it.
Yeah, but she's heard Jason say what he says about Stone, and that's why it's surprising they still send us beer, because he's like, fuck Stone.
They don't send me beer.
Well, yeah,
that's why it's going to you, John. You're the nice one.
Yeah. So,
I did buy one with my own money just so I can match you, John. So
that's commitment.
The beer. I'm not going to start with that beer, but they came out with. They're doing this whole thing where people voted on beers they wanted them to bring back. One of them
I saw that.
The Black IPA. I forgot the other ones, but this one is the Stone Imperial Stout. They have, I don't know if this is recent because of current events, but they deleted the Russian from it. It's no longer Stone Russian Imperial Stout. It's just Imperial Stout, which if they did that because of Russia, good, because fuck Russia.
I think also in general, like that designation isn't used anymore. Like who
is it?
Can you think of one?
I haven't been paying attention, but the term Riz, Russian Imperial Stout is always.
I haven't heard much about stout in general, honestly.
Well, I mean, pastries have taken over, but I just think like the beers that would be called Russian Imperial Stouts have all kind of died off anyways, and I don't think in the modern market that term really means like people like, why is it Russian? What does that mean?
Yeah. I don't think I can answer that question at this point. I don't know.
Yeah, me either.
So
I think it was because it was like higher alcohol, like because they
keeping warm in the
from
Siberia
like 8 to 10 or whatever.
Yeah. I'm a bad beer geek. I guess I forgot the answer to that question. Maybe if Dr. Bill were here,
we'll fill that in when we get to that beer later.
I remember that bottle though.
Yeah, it's changed over the years, but the most recent implementation. This is actually the font they use on the beer now. That's on this little flyer they sent.
It's kind of very red square.
Yeah, it still has that Russian vibe to it, So it's a kind of a callback. And on this, apparently, well, we'll get into that later. I was going to get into what this says, but that's stupid. So I'm going to kick things off with my first beer. This is kind of late in the season for this, but I don't care. And I want to say someone had this on the show. I don't recall. This is
can't see it yet.
Harmony Engine from Modern Times.
A Märzen?
Yeah, the label looked familiar, but I looked on our notes and I didn't see anyone.
Their labels all kind of look like that. Like they look like some weird blend of geometric shapes and primary colors.
This one kind of stands out though. It's like a piece of artwork, It's not their, I don't know, typical just random shapes, even though technically it looks like random shapes. I don't know. It caught my eye, and that's why I got it. And it's still fairly fresh. It was canned at the end of August, so we're doing pretty good on that. And it's never too late to have a Märzen. So
I agree with that. My feelings.
What are you starting with, Tim?
So I picked up a few things, and I was like, actually, to be honest, the last two beers that I ended up getting, we were as a Total Wine and going down the aisle, and my kid was like, "Can I pick out a couple?" And so I said, "Sure, you can pick out like the last two, right?"
For him to
And
drink?
well, no, obviously not. Although we did go to a German restaurant. They were unfortunately out, but they have I can't remember the name. Greg would know if you were here. But they have like what's called like malted kids beer. So we didn't get it
Oh.
unfortunately, but we're definitely going to go back because it's kind of fun.
It's like malt soda, basically.
Yeah, something like that. Anyway,
Cool.
so I let him pick out the last two, and he grabbed this one because of the cool label. It's called Aesop's Black Wolf Ramen Beer. It's from
Okay.
Full Circle in collaboration with War Cloud. It is a ramen kolsch with
Time
this
to judge your son's taste in graphic design right now. So that looks pretty cool.
Yeah,
that
dude.
would catch my eye if I was a kid. It's got
Yeah,
like
it's
a monster cat on it or something.
It's like a wolf, like a samurai ninja wolf.
Okay.
It does look like something a 12-year-old drew.
Yeah. Well, I wouldn't say it's something a 12-year-old drew, but it's definitely like it's got that cartoon character vibe going on.
It's got like big like boarding class, and so you're just doodling.
Yeah,
like,
totally.
Yeah, I drew this samurai ninja wolf. It's sick.
And so when he gave it to me, I was like, a ramen kolsch, interesting. Like, not only did you get something that had like kind of a rad label, but you also got a really different beer. It's actually, so this is also partially in collaboration with Aesop, a local rapper. I'm not sure where Full Circle is. I assume SoCal.
Let's see here.
Fresno.
Full Circle
So
is in Fresno.
NorCal. War Cloud's down here though, right?
I believe. Are they, I think. I don't know. It just on Untapped.
I didn't do
says
my
United
research.
States.
Is that a brewery?
Isn't that a black-owned brewery?
Yeah,
I
it
wanna
is.
say? Yeah.
Anyway.
I think they're from down here.
They did a collaboration. This is like a collaboration between the breweries as well as like in collaboration with this rapper Aesop, who also has a ramen pop up, and so you can kind of see it all tying together. And it's kind of interesting too because it's like they say it's supposed to be zesty, but also have green peppercorn, so a little peppery. I'm kind of intrigued by that, and I'll give my rundown once I get an opinion.
So the thing with ramen is ramen itself is just noodles. So adding it to beer, I don't think would do that much. It might contribute to some of maybe I don't know if there's a lot of I don't know, starches that could you can convert to sugars in ramen, but because when I think of ramen, I think of the ramen dish, and that's full of spices, and you got like chives in there sometimes, and I don't know. It can be many different.
It really depends on what you get. You got like your garlic, your miso, your oils, your chilies. Yeah, it could be anything.
So saying that it's made with ramen, it's not like they took
Well, that's what I'm curious
about. Ramen and put it in there with.
I don't know exactly.
I guarantee there's a brew day where they're just dumping ramen packets and they're like, more 7-Eleven beer. Like that's like 7-Eleven beer is the trend right now. Just get some junk food you found at 7-Eleven and throw it in the beer. Yeah, got some Oreos, throw them in the beer.
Yeah, because at the end of the day, it doesn't really do anything to the beer.
Got some Sour Patch Kids, throw them in. Doritos, throw them in.
But have you had the Flaming Hot Cheetos Mountain Dew?
No,
I have not, and I don't know if I want
that's an actual thing.
Yeah.
Is it a hard Mountain Dew?
No.
Flaming Hot. That's like the gamer drink right there, right? I mean, you could just 2-in-1, right? The stereotypical gamer drink, anyway.
Exactly.
Unless you're sponsored by G Fuel or something.
Well, all that sounds really gross. I've got a beer. I've got a kolsch that I think is just a regular kolsch, but it is a collaboration with the band Helmet.
Oh,
I don't know that band.
They were like kind of a 90s alternative rock band, like hard rock kind of.
I think they're touring with Clutch right now or something, which totally makes sense. Clutch is like these are bands that if Matt were a little older, Matt Becker, friend of the show, former co-host, he probably loves them now, but he'd be like really into them if he was just like, I don't know, 10 years older. So
I could see
if
it.
that makes any sense. Matt's typically into like I don't know, his music taste is everywhere, but it goes from like metal to like that what's a nice way to put it? Not like not like hipster, but not hipster rock, like rock and roll kind of thing. I don't think he likes like the 1975 or whatever their name is, but stuff like that. I don't know.
What's
So,
that band that everyone makes fun of for just trying to sound like Led Zeppelin?
is that the 1975?
No, it's Greta Van Fleet.
There
That's
you
what
go.
it
It is
is.
Greta
Yeah,
Van.
yeah.
That's the one that homeboy from Led Zeppelin talked shit on. Like he didn't talk shit, but somebody asked him about it, and he's like, "Oh, it's a, it's a good something to the effect of it's a good facsimile." But I think I think he said I've heard that before somewhere. I don't know, and it was like he's talking about himself.
They're like the biggest thing that always sticks out with me on that band is there was like a Pitchfork review that was like Greta Van Fleet sounds like a group of guys did a weed exactly once and then recorded a Led Zeppelin album while they called the police on themselves and waited for them to show up.
And they claim that they didn't hear Led Zeppelin before they formed the band. And like I don't think so, guys. Come on.
That's the most bullshit thing I've ever heard in my life. Like, oh, you never heard fucking one of the most played bands in the whole fucking world? Like, you didn't happen to see one of the 85 movies that has Immigrant Song in the fucking soundtrack? Like, fuck
Yeah.
off.
You'll hear it somewhere at some point. And maybe you don't know it's Led Zeppelin, but you've heard it if you listen to music. So.
They went too far in the other direction, so you know they're lying. You're just like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
What are the deets on that?
What's
Your
that?
Kolsch.
Any
On Untapped,
note?
it just says it's a German style Kolsch brewed in collaboration with the band Helmet.
Yeah.
So
got a little extra alcohol on it. I think it's like 5.8 or something, which is
yeah,
a
it
little
says 5.7 here on Untapped. So
a little high for a Kolsch, but
yeah,
this,
Kolsch is generally around 4.2, 4.5, if
this
not
ramen
a little
one
lower.
is 5.1.
and it literally just has like a quote on the side attributed that's just like, Helmet loves beer. We hope you'll like this beer. It's
That's
a
the
Kolsch.
laziest collab ever.
We're sure you'll enjoy this as much as you enjoy our music. It's like, yeah, there's no real effort put into it. They just got like the album cover on there. I remember seeing this CD in the 90s, like that picture of some girl.
I posted a photo on Twitter yesterday, I think. My wife has a drawer full of Maximum Rock and Roll zines from like I think they're from the early 2000s or mid 2000s because she wrote her thesis on punk rock and politics basically.
That is the most on point thing that I think I've ever heard come out of your mouth.
Yeah, that's
her
her
thesis subject. Yeah.
But on the back of one of them, it was an ad for Lookout Records, the label that Green Day was on before they got big. And their tagline was the label that's not afraid to drink beer. And I'm like, what does that even mean? is that like a I don't know something?
It means all the big
innuendo?
labels are like executives who are going to be like sipping from their brandy glasses with their cigars while they take all the money out of your band's bank account.
I was like, okay, the label that's not afraid to drink beer. Okay,
cool. I've been listening to this podcast about this weird 90s boy group that never came around called Sudden Impact. Dave Holmes did this whole podcast. It's like a year old, but I just heard about it. And it's funny because they talk about like basically this group they're describing went through like 3 different incarnations and was signed to various different major labels over a 10-year period and never released a single album.
Wow.
Like just that's kind of how the music industry worked, where they like recorded a bunch of shit. It just got shelved. It was like, nope, people aren't into that stuff anymore. And just like a decade of just being paid to fucking produce nothing.
It's one thing to not blow up, but it's a completely different thing to not even put your music out there.
Yeah, like one of the guys is like, yeah, I have some of the stuff on like old DATs or some shit. He's like, I don't even have any equipment that can read it now. Like, so he can't even transfer it because it's on old like tapes from, I think they were called DATs, right? The old digital tapes they used to do.
Digital audio tape.
Yeah, the recording shit they did in the 90s. This Kolsch isn't that good.
Well, that's not good to hear. What's wrong with it?
It tastes a little oxidized, but it's not old. It's from July, but that shouldn't. Oh, wait a minute. No,
Uh-oh.
fuck. This is July 21. I got
Ah,
bamboozled. All right.
well, that
Fuck
explains why it's
Is
oxidized.
it? So you got the Total Wine Cellar.
Yeah, I got this at a random liquor store, and I didn't even think to look at it. But
I realized after the fact that mine got shelf cellared. It's from January.
Yeah, that's
Oh.
typical for Total Wine and Bevmo and the rest. I'd say Bevmo has been getting better at it but they still keep a lot of their IPA on a shelf and it's warm, but
Yeah.
at least it's fresh, warm IPA. So
Is
you've
it-
got the chance of it being good.
All right, so I got a coffee blonde ale from called Sun Supreme from Brewery West. So I'm still kind of matching because I know we got a Brewery West coming up.
Oh, I love their labels so much.
Yeah, this one looks like Polka Dot Man from Suicide Squad.
That's one of their more simpler labels. It's just a bunch of circles.
But see, yeah, you say simple, but the difference is even their most simple labels are technical because those are layered stickers. They're not like printed to shapes. It's literally different sized dots on top of each other. And when they do that with all of their labels, I'm just like, from a designer production standpoint, it's just awesome.
I gotta imagine like they have a machine that does it or something.
I mean,
like
yeah, they're not like hand sticking them. There's like you're layering the stickers into one big sticker. and
They
then sticking that
explained it.
on.
I think they explained it once somewhere. Maybe it's on YouTube, but they just use a regular can labeler, but they run it through twice.
Yeah,
Basically.
exactly.
So,
well, yeah, I think it's got like a backing or something where these are all gonna
Yeah.
go on, and then
they're all
pull the
die
backing.
cut. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's still it's
Either way,
it's
it's
a
badass.
very like involved process for something like labeling a can of beer. And
And
I
I
give them
don't know.
credit.
I don't recall a coffee blonde being. I'm sure I've had one at some point in my life, but that's not a thing people do very often.
Isn't a coffee blonde just like naughty sauce or whatever?
Yeah.
Kind of, yeah.
Yeah.
Except for they're just calling it a blonde ale and not like trying to make it stouty. Let's see what kind of roasty.
Oh yeah,
flavors
'cause that's a
it's getting.
blonde stout.
I remember it might still be on YouTube. One of the April Fool's jokes that Greg Cook wanted to do was when James Watt from Brewdog was in town and New Beer Thursday did a show at his house, and they wanted us to record their Stone April Fool's thing, and their April Fool's beer was a blonde stout. And they went off for like 10 minutes on how this is the best beer. It's because back then it's like, you can't make a blonde stout. And now it's just a normal thing. I mean, it's not a blonde stout, really. It's a blonde ale that's got those flavors and aroma characteristics. It's not like they're using, black malt and stuff like that. But I just think it's funny how their joke totally turned into an actual thing.
Too bad nobody ever did the helium beer. People really wanted that one to be true.
Was that Stone? Or was that?
Yeah, it was
Okay.
Stone.
Need some fizzy lifting drink.
I kind of drinking this beer, I'm kind of seeing why you would rather have something like a naughty sauce than this, because you're getting the coffee flavors and the roastiness, but there's nothing in the beer to really back it up. So it really just tastes like a generic, like an 805 that you poured good coffee into.
Yeah, I believe like naughty sauce, it's got like some sweet characteristics going on. It's like a mocha kind
Yeah.
of thing.
They use
happening.
there's lactose in that one, I know for sure. And
Yeah, there's more to it than just it being, look, it's yellow, but it tastes like a stout and smells like a stout. Doing that sounds kind of gross.
Yeah, this is just kind of one note. It really is just again, imagine an 805. The coffee is really good. It's got a really great flavor to it, but it just tastes like 805 with coffee in it. Damn, fucking two misses in a row.
Well, going back to Harmony Engine, I should say, from Modern Times. It's I mean, they make great beer. It's a Meriton. A little on the sweet side, but it's low ABV. I believe it's around 5.5%, which isn't super low, but it's low. It's good. It's nice, clean, crisp finish. Decent carbonation. It's not too, it's more on the deep yellow side of things. If I can get my camera to Focus. But yeah, it's good all the way around. I got it just as like a pick me up kind of, easy beer to do for the show. So good stuff. And I'm glad Modern Times is still a thing that is going to go on and be owned by good people.
I was pretty apprehensive about the idea of a ramen beer. I mean, like you mentioned, if you're just dumping the noodles in, it's not going to do much.
Yeah.
But it's interesting because even though I'm not sure how much the age played onto it, but it's nice and crisp, like I would expect, like a light, crisp Kolsch. It has a good body to it, and it does get like that sort of. It has like a citrusy, really nice, refreshing flavor that kind of ends with. They mentioned like peppercorns, but I get that little like peppery zing at the end. Not like a chili bear where it's hot, not like anything super over the top, but it's just this little zing, and it's actually kind of nice.
I think if they're gonna commit to doing a ramen beer, it should come with a flavor packet.
Or a soft-boiled egg.
They're just like, yeah, pour the beer into a glass, and then they give you like a little pouch of seasoning of some type, right? Like it's made to go with the beer. Like it's a unique flavor. It's not just like chicken. It's got to be, something different. But they're like, yeah, this goes with our ramen beer. We're giving you the whole experience.
Or maybe I should just get a pack of ramen and cook it in the beer.
Shit.
That's Inception. Yeah, I think the green peppercorn is what's giving you that kind of spicy kick, and the citrus zest, and I don't know if it's zest. They say zesty citrus. So the citrus and the green peppercorn, that's them trying to go for that ramen edge to make it look like, because like I said, you can just throw noodles in a beer and what's that going to do? But at least they tried to go for it where it's like, okay, let's get a ramen vibe on this. I'm interested to try this beer. It sounds really good on paper.
Yeah, I don't know that it doesn't necessarily scream ramen to me in any way, but it has some really nice characteristics that you could kind of pull together. So, I mean, I'm pleasantly surprised. I'm sorry, Jason.
Oh, it's all good, man. I got lots of options. I'll just keep cycling through these fuckers
till you find something good. Well, since you just opened up, I'm also just gonna pop in real quick. The second one that my kid picked out was this Bounce by Brewery West.
Cool.
The Wildcat. So this is their more simplistic label.
Yeah, that's just one layer.
It's like one layer of stickers.
Yeah.
Anyway, I thought it was really rad. This cat is super cool. It's a neat illustration style. It's a 7% West Coast IPA, Citra, Mosaic, and Centennial.
I'm gonna go with a winner, so I don't get another loser. Interesting. I haven't seen these paper 6-pack. I've seen 4-pack holders, but not 6-pack holders.
I've only seen those a couple times. I wish those were more.
They're a little weird. They don't work as good as the plastic ones, but I'm sure they're much more friendly.
I've never had beer fall out of them, and I mean they tend to get depending on the humidity and whatever refrigerator they're in, they tend to get a little like soggy feeling, but I've never had a beer fall out of them.
So this is the Shaka West Coast IPA. It is a collab with Pizza Port and Fremont.
Oh, that's got to be good. That's got.
What's interesting is this looks like a Pizza Port can. Like it's very much in their art style and everything. It came in a 6-pack of 16-ounce cans, which is unusual, but it's actually made by Fremont.
Okay. So they went for the whole Pizza Port vibe with their cans.
I
wonder
really
if that means that Fremont's going to start doing 16-ounce. Do they? Because as far as I know, I think they just do 12-ounce cans. I don't recall seeing.
They do mixes, but
okay.
Like if you get like Fistful of Dynamite, that generally comes in a 4-pack of 16-ounce cans.
Oh, okay, all right.
But that's generally what they do is they'll either do 4-packs of tall cans or 6-packs of 12-ounce cans.
Yeah, because like Lush, I've only seen in 6-packs of 12, and that's really the only beer I've ever bought from them on the regular.
I can just feel John lusting for that beer from you right now. You're like Pizza Port, and he's like, oh,
God. I saw it the last time I went to La Bodega, but I didn't buy it. So I know it's still there. I just was like, I got enough IPA. So I'm just saying it's got to be good. It's two great IPA breweries.
This tastes very fresh hoppy. It doesn't say on here, although it does say on the side, Utah, give me 2, which I do appreciate. That's from Point Break, by the way.
Oh, I did not know that.
Yeah, just a random throwaway line, but it's just perfect Gary Busey delivery where they're talking about getting hot dogs, and then Gary Busey just like leans out of the car and he's like, Utah, give me 2.
God, I haven't seen that movie probably in 25 years or something.
Dude, it holds up. Point Break is pretty good. I watched it probably 6 months ago.
Okay.
Um,
Aren't they doing a remake of that? Or no, that's
They-
Roadhouse, I think they're
they
doing.
did a Point Break remake, just no one cared.
Oh, okay. Well, aren't they doing a Roadhouse one too? That's because I think it's some Patrick Swayze movie.
Probably.
I think they are. I forgot who was doing it. Who was going to be in it? Oh no, it was. I think it was Jake Gyllenhaal is going to be in it. That's who's going to be in it. Could be wrong. I don't like Jake Gyllenhaal. I think he's a. I don't know. I'm not going to get into that. I don't think
He's
a
not
good
very.
actor.
Yeah, he's not in very good movies. I always hate. I'm just gonna go ahead to hot take. I hated Donnie Darko. Like every person
Oh,
of my
thank you, Jason.
every person my age is just like Donnie Darko, best movie ever, and it's like, no, I fucking hated that movie. So
Yeah.
I went to a school that was geared towards photography first, film second, and design third. And so there were a lot of film kids that were just like, take your stereotypical, like, I want to be a director or a cameraman or whatever.
Right.
And I think the most talked about movie that I ever heard about was Fight Club.
Yeah,
That was
Yeah.
like, that was like one of the like, oh my God, the best movie ever.
That's a good movie though. That's a legit
Sure.
good movie. But
it's better than the book.
Donnie Darko, like Yvonne's was into that movie, and I've watched it with her when we first started going out. I'm just like, and everything I base on like Jake Gyllenhaal movies, I'm like, oh, it's Donnie Darko, and she doesn't play that in all of his movies. I'm like, well, that's what I see. I
He's
thought that character was dumb.
he is good in some stuff, but I generally don't like what he picks. His sister is like the opposite. Like I generally is like if Maggie Gyllenhaal's in something, it's usually means it's a good movie.
Yeah,
Just
I like
because
her.
she doesn't pick bad stuff. But he seems to pick bad stuff.
I mean, in Spider-Man, I guess he was fine. I
As
mean, it's not like he's a
Mysterio.
bad actor. I just don't like him. That's
I
all.
like Spider-Man.
So
What the fuck? They're keeping it real close to the chest with what this beer is. I'm like, what's in it?
Which one are you
They're
talking
just
about?
like
Oh,
the
yeah,
Fremont
yeah.
one. Yeah, I'm like, all right, it's a West Coast IPA, Fremont, and Pizza Port, but the hop character is very. Again, it tastes very green and grassy, like the way you get out of like a wet hop beer. But they don't advertise it as a wet hop beer. They don't mention what hops are in it at all, which even Pizza Port will give you that usually.
yeah, they give you like it's on the bottom can of the can like label. It's really small. It's usually like 3 or 4 hops on there.
It's an interesting again, I'm just going to go on that I feel like this is a fresh or wet hop beer. It tastes a lot like if you had the fresh hop pale ale that Fremont does.
Mhm.
It is very much in that zone with an amped up bitterness. But fresh hop IPAs are weird, and I'm wondering how common they are off the West Coast because we're in hop country ish a little bit more,
Like in New Zealand or something.
or
know?
even like does Chicago get a lot of fresh hop IPAs, or is it all just kind of?
Oh,
like
I thought
a-
you meant outside the states. Yeah, I don't. I
Yeah.
mean, again, it's about how local you are to the hop growers or how quickly you can get the hops. Like Tim said with oh god, the East Coast Brewery.
Victory.
Oh, Victory, yeah. They make it a priority to get those fresh hops to the brewery as quickly as possible within a couple days. And
Yeah, this is like super fresh and green tasting, and also very bitter, like Swami's bitter, where it's
Wow,
got a
that's
real
weird.
real strong bite. It's an interesting beer. Probably like I think it would have been a little bit better if Pizza Port made it, but but still very good. I'm still riding high because I actually went to Pizza Port last week. It was great.
cool. What pizza did you get?
The Carlsbad. It's
Okay,
always
what's
my
the
favorite.
Carlsbad?
The Carlsbad is a pesto sauce
Yes,
instead
with
of red.
the artichokes.
Yeah, with artichokes, sun-dried tomatoes, and chicken and feta cheese.
That
Soup.
one's bomb.
It's so good.
The last time I got it, I'm pretty sure they just dumped the entire bucket of feta on top, so it was a little much, but that's my favorite for sure.
I actually made my own version of that pizza like 3 days before, and I was pretty close.
Nice.
The only thing I did different was I blended the artichoke into the pesto because the big artichoke hearts on the pizza tend to just kind of fall off.
That's a really smart idea.
Yeah, it worked out really good actually. I'm gonna make it again. Pappy Van Jason's secret recipe, ripping off pizza port.
Nice. Put it in a box and I'll DoorDash it over here.
Next time we meet up in person, I'll be like, all right, I got some dough and some pesto. You guys were doing it shit. If I take the chicken off, then it's fucking vegan for John.
I don't know what John's new kitchen's gonna look like, but he could set up his camera. We just hang in the kitchen and record there while Jason makes pizza.
It's smaller than my kitchen now, but in terms of it being a kitchen and with cabinets, but it's double the size.
Yeah,
If that makes sense.
Yeah, I got you.
There's plenty of room.
Nice.
It's very large.
You could be just like Ethan Chablowski.
We'd have to move to France to do that.
He's back now.
Oh, he is?
Yeah, I've seen.
I thought he was going to stay there for a while.
I don't know. He's doing videos where he's racing Taco Bell and shit again. So.
Oh, okay. Because when he moved, he was just like, I'm on a journey, and I was just like, cool, bro. Well, I'll catch up with you later then. So.
Nah, he did like a but better Chipotle chicken, and
I saw that. Yeah, I didn't see it.
That marinade is fucking fire. I actually the life hack in that is this stuff achiote paste, which is like a seasoning blend that you can get at Mexican markets that is primarily annetto and then a bunch of other like chilies and spices.
Yum.
That stuff is a life hack for Mexican food. It's super good.
Okay. Now I gotta look for it.
Yeah, I didn't see the video. I just saw the thumbnail. So I'll have to watch that one. Really quick, my next beer is from Firestone Walker. This is actually from the Propagator out of Southern California, and this is a beer they include in their mixed pack. It's called Melon Conspiracy, and it's called Melon Conspiracy because it's made with a hop called melon hops, which I believe is, maybe it's not the first time I heard of melon hops, but I can't remember hearing about it before this beer. It's a German hop, and they used that hop, and they also used Mosaic. So I'm just going to talk about the beer because I've been sipping on it. It's true to its name. It's super, super like citrus / melon. Not a whole lot of like crispy, like acidic citrus bite, but that more rounded. Because melon, I think of like cantaloupe and stuff like that. And that stuff's like, it's not super sweet. It's sweet enough to taste, like a fruit, like a sweet fruit, but it's more of like a savory kind of thing going on with melon.
As fruits go, melons are like D tier at best.
Yeah, I would agree. They need help. Like
they're filler fruit.
Yeah, they're good with other fruits. Like if you have like an orange slice and a piece of cantaloupe, like
a watermelon is like C tier maybe. But like a honeydew is like F tier.
No, honeydew is filler. I think people would argue with you about cantaloupe because I know there's plenty of people who will cut a cantaloupe in half, and I don't know. There's A, throw some cottage cheese in the center if you're into that, or B, there's wrap it with prosciutto. So,
oh no, why?
Because it's that prosciutto Milano, I think is what it is. It's like an Italian.
The meat.
It's a total Italian like specialty.
Oh, I've never heard of that. That's
like a savory, sweet, refreshing thing. I've done it before. It's pretty good.
Well,
I'm not a huge cantaloupe fan, but
like I said, the melons tend to be more savory than super, super sweet. And this beer hits on that. It's just super like, and it's fairly fresh-ish. I think it's a month and a half, maybe 2 months old, and it still pops. Like it's really melon forward, really like refreshingly fruit forward. It's 6% alcohol by volume. So it's for an IPA, it's on the lower end. They're calling it hazy IPA, and I mean it is hazy technically, but it doesn't come off like your standard, hop burn hazy IPA. It's Firestone.
I feel like
Walker.
Firestone wants you to know that if it's not clear, it's because they did it on purpose.
Of course, yes.
Well, and you say it's fruit forward in the sense of it's not like a fruited beer or a smoothie or anything like that.
I would imagine it's like everything, right? Where Firestone does a lot of trickery to get all these flavors with just hops.
Yeah. I mean, the yeast. I'm sure it's since it's from the propagator. It's probably. I could be completely wrong. I'm just assuming it could, but I would think it's something, more of a specialty yeast they can use for their smaller batch stuff. Where stuff like Mind Haze is, I think it's just like a wit beer kind of style that they've heavily modified to come off like a hazy IPA. So it's super easy for them to make it and cheap. So, but I don't know. It's really good though. Anything I see from the propagator, it's kind of like Pizza Port. I just buy it because it's going to be good. And you get to taste the more experimental stuff coming out of their Southern California brewery.
Yeah, the propagator's awesome. I haven't been there in forever.
Especially now with Firestone having been kind of folded into the bigger group, it feels like the main brand isn't as experimental as they used to be.
No.
And so Propagator is really where it's kind of like Stone, where you really got to go to the Propagator for Firestone, or like Stone has like the Liberty Station or whatever, where that's where you get like the experimentation and the cool stuff.
Yeah, and anybody you talk to about Stone, if they've never been, it's like, well, you want to go to the San Marcos, the bistro, that's fine. But if you can go to Liberty Station, you should go there because it's the same quality food, but the beer is just way different. And like, not that it's better, but it's more variety, and it's the experimental side of Stone that's really good. That's what I tell people anyway. But this is a really good beer.
That's why they send you the beer, John.
But by the
I
way,
do say
John,
nice things.
I just spied in the background your Lego DeLorean.
Uh-huh.
Oh, nice.
I had mine, I bought mine, and I didn't build it for a while. And then so for my birthday, Sarah got me a gift, and it was the Lego DeLorean. I'm like, Sarah, I have that sitting in my room for like weeks. So I finally assembled it, and she felt really bad. She returned it, and then got that, which I think you have also right next to.
Is that the Ghostbusters?
Yeah, the Ecto 1.
Yeah. Yep, that's
which I think
also
you
up
have
there.
right next to your DeLorean. Yep.
Yeah, I got the Ecto 1, the DeLorean, and then Luke Skywalker's speed thing, sand thing.
Which version of the DeLorean did you build?
It's the original.
The original? I did too. So
yeah, I mean,
it has the flippy wheels. That's really cool.
Yeah, the wheels are cool, and the only real difference is you got the Mr. Fusion thing on the back, but mine has the hook on it too that they use.
It has a little beer can and a banana in the Mr. Fusion.
It's very well done. It's a
Tim,
cool build.
Did you build
the cool thing about the DeLorean though? If you would have kept the other one, you could have two versions. Like, you know what I mean?
Oh yeah.
No, when it first came out, I tried to get it, but it was sold out like within several hours, and then I just kind of never followed up on it.
It's a really clever kit. It's a really clever build. Like the way they build the angles on the car and stuff, they use a lot of weird tricky stuff with like clipping onto round pieces and angling them. And
yeah, I do have the DB5 from the Speed Champions sitting around here somewhere.
Oh, sweet. Yeah, so like I'm used to the level of complexity in Speed Champions, and the DeLorean's like 4 times the size.
Yeah.
So it's the doors open and close. It's got the full interior with like the time going back to 1985 and shit. The flex capacitor lights up. It's pretty neat.
Their Lego though, the prices, I think probably, I don't know, 6 months ago or something, they raised them significantly.
They did a 20% hike across everything, basically.
It's bad. And I think is it the Hulkbuster, the Tony, or the Iron Man suit thing? Like it's like this tall. It's like 1.5 feet tall. And if you get the Iron Man, they make these. It's an offshoot thing that Lego does, where it's Lego parts, but they're more like custom made cast parts that you can build things out of. I used to have a bunch over here, but I took them down, and they're kind of I don't know. They look cool, but they're you can't really play with them, and they break easily. And anyway, it's made for this Iron Man thing to fit inside of it. That Hulkbuster kit is $550.
Oh, yeah.
And it's like a 3,000 piece kit or something. It's just like, no way would I'm not even considering buying that. It's just I could get the Millennium Falcon for that, like on eBay, brand new. Like, it's just ridiculous how expensive things have gotten.
So I obviously am like my kid's been into Lego forever, and I was as a kid, and I love building them with him. And he went down like the rabbit hole And he's recently been introduced slowly to all the Star Wars movies, and he really likes the prequels, and he's like into the Legos from the prequels.
Wow,
And
okay.
like majority of that shit doesn't exist anymore. And so he's like, I like this character and I want this minifigure. And he's like, I found that minifigure on this like third-party site and it's like $50 for the minifigure. I'm like, hell no.
Yep.
Dude.
Minifigs, that's the other thing. If you can like if you can get a kit that's like a $30 kit that's just a bullshit ship or whatever, but it has like 8 minifigures in it, like it's worth getting it just for the minifigs, just
Well,
to have
So
them.
there was like a renaissance, and a good pro tip for you, Tim, is if you go to like a Comic-Con, they have bootleg minis there that are generally $4 or $5 per mini, and they've got all sorts of official and unofficial shit.
mhm.
And so you could probably find like if you just want minis, at least you could probably find those at those not quite legitimate Lego sellers that are at cons.
Nice. Well, we closer to you guys, there's a place in Anaheim called Bricks and Minifigs.
Oh yeah, there's one in Ontario, I think, too.
Yeah, it's like a new and used reseller with like bulk pieces and vintage sets. And like whenever we go in there, it's like, ooh, look at that old vintage like unbox or box thing. I'm like, how much exactly is that? Like, no, we're not getting the $700 sand crawler.
I still want, I think it's the Imperial Destroyer, whatever. I think in my book that trumps the Millennium Falcon. I think that thing looks, and it's just a big gray triangle
Yeah,
on your
basically.
table, but it looks so like menacing. It's awesome.
I would say really quick to follow up on my bounce. I love Brewery West. I am going to be biased because I really like all that they make. It's good. It's a nice, solid IPA. It's a little sweeter than I anticipated up front, but it mellows out pretty quick, and I like it.
Yeah, Brewery West. I mean, another one of those breweries that you can depend on to make high quality brews.
So I have a couple of stouts that I share with both of you. So apparently I'm drinking big tonight, but
I'm not ready for stout yet. So if you're gonna open a stout, wait one more beer.
Yeah.
My next beer is the Fresh Hop Sierra Nevada Celebration. So
Hey,
all right, I
celebration.
got a fresh hop I can drink with that.
So yeah, like I said, Tim, I think he opened one too.
I did.
It's that time of year where Sierra Nevada releases their Fresh Hop IPA, known as Celebration, and it's one of those beers that every time I've bought it at a store, it's inevitable someone will say, "Man, people are buying that beer a lot," and I say the same thing. I'm like, "It only comes out once a year, and it's awesome." I'm like, "Oh, I didn't know that." I'm like, yeah. So it's their fresh hop IPA. They're really going out of the way to call it an IPA.
I was gonna say, riddle me this. That was the thing. I had the can on the counter, and my wife, who's had Celebration before, and I mean, you know her, she has particular tastes in beer, and so she's had it before and liked it, and she's like, "Wait a second, is this different because it's IPA?" And she had me remembering. I can't remember cans from the past or bottles. Actually, bottles because I've never had it canned. Wasn't it always Celebration? Wasn't always considered an ale, or did they just not call it out?
They would just call it like a winter ale or some shit. They just didn't really style it at all.
So does anybody know? Did it change? Is that why it's now considered an IPA?
It's always been like hopped like an IPA. It was just kind of it was existed long enough ago that wasn't a benefit to your brand.
Yeah.
And now it's like by labeling it IPA, it's more accurately describing what's in the can, and two, people have that brand is the thing that is consistently selling the best and getting the most growth. Like IPA in general is still what people buy.
Okay, that makes sense.
It's always been on the hoppier side of beer. It's weird because when I first tried it, I was expecting something that was spiced or something, and I had it, and I'm like, oh, this is just an IPA. And I think I was with Dr. Bill when I first had it, and he's like, well, technically, it's an IPA, but they don't call it an IPA. It's just their Celebration Fresh Hop beer. I'm like, oh, okay, so I think they're just owning it, and it's calling it an IPA.
Just really going for it.
Yeah.
Right.
Well,
but as far as IPAs go, This is still very, very red. It's very
It,
malt forward,
it
lower to mid bitterness. It's not like a West Coast pizza port IPA. So
no, I mean, doesn't that recipe date back to the 80s? I
I'm
think
sure it's changed here over the years, but yeah, it's a very old recipe.
and
Well,
so the
And
malt
I still
bill
have bottles from 20 years
the
ago.
malt bill is like that English style IPA that everybody used to base their IPAs on that everyone's kind of moved away from
Right.
in the last 10 years. Yeah. So I don't have Celebration. But I
can't
have
believe you didn't find it. That's
No,
so
they didn't have
crazy.
it. But I have Inspiration.
Ooh, that's close enough.
Inspiration and celebration.
The Inspiration Hop Harvest IPA from El Segundo with a picture of a hop field on it. It lists the hops and who grew them on the side, which is kind of cool. It has Simcoe from Cornerstone, Amarillo from Virgil Gamache Farms, and Centennial from 3D Farms.
I wonder if their inspiration was celebration, hence the name. I don't know. I'm just guessing. It's a fresh hop beer. Makes sense. Maybe.
Might be a small stretch, but
I think Jason's reading the label to maybe give us an answer. So we're vamping. Well, Jason studying what
They've
seems
brewed
to
this
be.
Hop Harvest IPA in celebration of the annual harvest and all the growers, brewers, and tradesmen that have played a part in what makes West Coast IPA what it is today.
I
So
think
the
I'm
beer
right.
Inspiration is a celebration.
Close
It's
enough.
a celebration of hop growers.
It
I
is
think
a
I'm right.
legally distinct name that does not share any characteristics with any other brands, living or dead.
Especially one of the biggest in the world for craft beer brewers.
Jason does make a very oh, look, yours is kind of that reddish tint too. I was gonna say you make a very good point that when I started drinking beer and got into IPAs, they tended to look more like this.
Yeah.
I don't remember too many higher ABV IPAs that looked clear and yellow.
Yeah, the IPAs, they at least when because me and you, Tim, we got into beer basically at the same time, and they tended to be not only bitter and malt forward, but more round and like more going on with the different flavors. Not that I'm saying that the modern day IPAs are suffer for not having that. I'm just saying they went for a more going on, where over the years, especially with West Coast IPA, that's been they're basically trimming out all the stuff that they don't want in that style of beer and saying, okay, I just want a clean, crisp beer that showcases the hops more and the malts take a back seat. So I still appreciate it for what it is, but would I buy it on the regular? Maybe if they put this out every, if it was a regular beer they put out, yeah, I'd buy it on the regular. But from other breweries, probably not. Like it's just too much.
Speaking of celebration from other breweries, that's what this is. Like it is
It's celebration.
It is. Yep. It tastes just like it.
So you did buy Celebration then?
It is a little bit drier. It's got a little bit more aroma. I mean, I think it's just a little bit more El Segundo. But this is them making Celebration. 100%.
That worked out pretty well.
Yeah. I didn't realize that's what they were doing. I was like, oh, it's kind of similar. It's a hop harvest. That'll be cool. But this is 100% like, how people will just do their like low key Sierra Nevada pale ale. I've never seen somebody take on Celebration, and it is lighter in color. It shows up more.
It is lighter
on camera than it does in real life, but the hop profile is like the exact same. Because I did have a 6-pack of Celebration this year, so it's pretty fresh in my memory. And
for me, this year's is coming off kind of like hard candy, like rock candy kind of vibes. The hops seem to be more citrus forward and not as grassy. And not that it's been a grassy beer in the past, but it seems brighter overall from what I remember. It's really, really good. Like Sierra Nevada, I truly hope they never quote unquote sell out like to a like a Kieran or something like that. Not that it might help them, get wider distribution and help them as a business, but it's so cool that they can make beers like this and they're still technically a family-owned brewery.
and just yeah, they've stayed independent. They do things in a weird old school way that nobody else does. Like they've still used leaf hops.
Yeah.
Like nobody does that. They run a like the ethos of the things that I liked when I got into craft beer, I feel still is there at the heart of Sierra Nevada, even though they're huge.
Yeah, I
And
agree.
where like a lot of these companies, like the ethos got away from them, right? Like it just became another big business, right? And Sierra Nevada's managed to be in grocery stores all around the country and still behave in the way that the thing that drew us to craft beer in the first place, at least for me, that was a big part of it, right? Was just the culture around it and the community and stuff. And so yeah, if we get the news one day that it's like Sierra sells to fucking whoever, that'll be a sad day.
Well, to your point too, is that a lot of breweries are out there and have come and gone, and they've had a lot of different beers that have come and gone. And if you stop and you think about like breweries and beer specifically from them, that you're like, oh yeah, I could have that. I could have that at any time. Like it would go back. Like Sierra Nevada Pale Ale is one of those, and that was like one of their starting beers, and I could still have one of those and enjoy it.
I got to give them credit too, which is like it. I feel like it's kind of being forgotten already, but like it was like what, a good 5 awkward ass years where like Treehouse and stuff started blowing up, and then everybody else just made the most garbage tier hazy IPAs that you could ever. You know what I'm saying? Like, and like Sierra not only got on it early, but they made a like really good example that is fucking in every grocery store in the country. Like
Yeah.
Hazy Little Thing is a damn solid beer, and like they got it and they nailed it, where like a lot of other really good breweries tried and missed hard on Hazy IPA.
Yeah, and I mean, I think it's a lot of them were going off of, they're like, well, this is what this brewery does, and this is what I think we're supposed to do. Where a brewery like Sierra Nevada, they have the experience, the knowledge, and the science to say, okay, we want to make a literal hazy beer. We know what the foundation is for it. Let's just, and I'm sure they did a lot of experimental batches, but they had a lot more going for them as far as R&D and the tools to pull it off. Where these other small breweries, Treehouse, I'm not lumping them in with them, but they kind of pioneered the style, and it's like, well, you just got to add more hops. And I'm familiar with local breweries that are like, oh, I just got to add double the amount of hops and just don't run it through the filter. There you go. It's like, no, it's not. No, it's not what they're doing, dude. It's way more complex. So,
and this is also one of those beers. So speaking specifically about Celebration, that it's got like an emotional tie-in too, because it comes out once a year, right around the holidays. It's kind of like a Anchor Christmas, same idea.
exactly.
Like you've got this like timely emotional connection with the beer, and there's not a ton I think that do that, or if they do, that continue to have that sort of a huge societal thing.
And
yeah, I agree.
And it's just telling that like even though it's a 20-year-old seasonal beers have kind of died, right? Like more and more, you like the sales of people's seasonals and people's seasonal beers in general have kind of gone away. And like Celebration just it routinely sells out quickly. Like it literally, I think the reason it wasn't at my store is they ran out.
Yeah,
Yeah.
dude, I would go, like, I tend to try and shop at as many local bottle shops as I can, but sometimes convenience rules out, and going to Total Wine on my way to and from something wins, and I go there. And I used to go there, and I would spend so much time shopping their beer aisle, at least at the one in Northridge. And I just like walk up and down looking at all the singles. And then I didn't go for a while, and I went back, and all of a sudden, like half the aisle was under construction, and they had a small section. Now I go back, and it's like only like one row times maybe like 3 sections of singles, and like only like a fourth of that is seasonal. And I used to go and just be like, I'm going to buy all the seasonals from this section, and now it's just like nothing. And I don't know necessarily if that's a production thing or a corporate thing, but to your point, like it's not as exciting.
I just think in general, I remember in some of the industry stuff that we went to, they just said that, winter seasonal, summer seasonal. It used to be that you would just have a beer every season, and that was pretty standard that like every brewery had one. And it just seasonal beer sales seem to go down a lot. Like the Sam Adams ones were on at every bar in the world for a long time, and I don't remember the last time I saw one.
Yeah, summer and winter.
Yeah, like it used to be like a permanent tap for one of the Sam Adams seasonals, and like
That's a good point. Yeah.
like literally every bar you'd ever go to would have at least that. And like you don't see them anymore. It just I think that idea has died out a little bit.
Well, maybe it's just like due to trying to, economic reasons, you need to stick to your like main portfolio just to get by.
Yeah, I don't know. But
Yeah, I mean, maybe I don't know. I don't want to bring COVID up, but maybe that had something to do with it too, where it's like, all right, the seasonals are more of a fun thing to do, where maybe you're not going to sell as much as one of your staples, and so you might, not your profit margin's not going to be as much as it would be with if you just didn't make it and kept pumping out your regular beers. But maybe that played a part in it, where it's like, you know what, let's just focus on making good stuff all year round, steady, revenue, and stick with that. And you're right. I haven't even, aside from the Anchor Christmas and Celebration and maybe something else that I'm not thinking of, I don't really care about seasonals. Märzen, that's the other one. I think the Oktoberfest beers, when they come out, of course, that beer exists because of not a literal season, but a certain time of the year. But that's about it.
I will think the seasonals dying has gotten rid of all the garbage winter ales that would pop out on the market, where it would be some bullshit malty beer with allspice in it. And yeah, just like, oh, fuck off. These beers suck.
Yeah. I would say like a lot of those like adjunct Christmas seasonals were like that you would get in the like Christmas themed beer advent calendar. Like they would just be hit or miss, like hard.
Yeah, it's exactly what it was, hit or miss. And that's why I'm saying, like, the seasonals, it was more of, for breweries, it's like a fun thing they could do. It's like, if it doesn't sell well, not that big of a deal. We can cover it with everything else. And now they're just like, it's not worth it to do it. And unless it's a beer that they've had that, they've been experimenting with over the last 6 months or something. And they're like, okay, this could work. I think it'll sell well. Maybe, but
I will take a moment to shout out Ninkasi's Slayer beer, which was always one of my favorite Christmas ones. It was sleigh, like Santa's sleigh, but then it was like Slayer the band written out. It was always a fun one, and it was like an alt beer. It was a weird beer. Yeah.
Well, speaking of seasonal beers, this is a beer that Stone stopped brewing a while ago. The next beer I'm opening, this is their Stone Imperial Stout that we talked about at the top of the show. This is 10.5% alcohol by volume, and this was part of again the series of beers last year that they did a survey and asked people what they would want them to bring back in this beer. What I was reading, this beer
miming.
won out. They included this flyer that talks about how they're making a distilled companion called Stone Imperial Stout Whiskey from Foundry Distilling Company. So that
might be tasty.
Maybe when you pick up your Stone Imperial Stout, you could look for the Stone Imperial Stout Whiskey from Foundry Distilling Company and have yourself a little side-by-side tasting party to see what the distilled version tastes like. So, but that's fun, give your beer to a distillery to make some whiskey out of it.
Mine is authentically in a bomber.
Mine is in a can.
Which I don't remember the last time I bought a bomber of anything.
Yeah, seriously. I haven't had glass bottles of beer outside of like Pacifico in as long as I can remember.
But yeah, the bomber especially, like I will die on this fucking hill. The bomber is the worst format.
It's the most economical format, I think, for breweries, and they hold up on shelves. But once you're set up for canning, it's like, well, just can everything.
But as a customer, the bomber just sucks. We've talked about it on the show, but it's just like it's too big for one person. It's maybe okay for two people. They're hard to store because they're really tall. Like,
I found storage space for them. So,
Jason, tell me more. Why don't you like bombers? This is a good one. Since
Just
you
a bad
guys
size.
Since you guys both have that, enjoy, and I will keep on my celebration. I'll save my last stout here for when Jason's done.
Yeah, I've got
We
apparently
have
I'm
a stout
double.
that lines up.
And so
Any-
we were talking about Russian Imperial Stout as a style, which notably they've taken that name off. However, there is a precedent for that because if you remember the last time they made this beer, they called it like totalitarian Imperial Stout or some shit like that.
That's even worse than
God.
Stone.
Yeah,
Carry
like,
on.
which I think was them just being like, oh yeah, like we're mad at Russians or whatever. I don't know.
Yeah.
Oh, it was a slightly different beer. So it was built on the backbone of it. But whatever. This beer, I remember going to Stone in like the peak heyday of Escondido, and they were very, very fucking proud of this beer. Like there was marketing materials all over that place for all the awards that the Russian Imperial Stout got.
It's an excellent beer. I believe it's bringing Matt Becker up again. It's one of his faves as far as Russian Imperial Stouts go.
It calls back to a different time. So I googled the origin of the term, and it has one of those bullshitty origin stories like IPA.
Right.
It's basically the same thing, which is like they had to make it more alcohol and more bitter to get it back to Russia because the Tsar Alexander, and it's one of those those disputed stories that like is maybe kind of bullshit, half bullshit.
Right.
But what's funny is this article I'm reading from 2016. It's on americancraftbeer.com, and they're like, here's some of our favorite versions of this style for you to try. And it's just like a real memory lane here.
Oh yeah.
The Czar by Avery Brewing, which
Okay.
at the time of the article had already been discontinued.
Yeah, I remember that.
Dark Lord.
Yep.
Surly Darkness.
Yep.
Cigar City Marshall Zhukov's.
I didn't have that one.
Old Rasputin.
Yep.
Parabola.
Old Rasputin's still a good beer.
Yes.
And I've never liked Old Rasputin actually. And 1050.
Oh, I remember 1050, and then they went down the path of like 12 different variants of 1050.
Oh, there was a time when these were like considered the best beers in the world. Like all of these beers were the top rated beers on Beer Advocate. They were the absolute peak of the beer market, and they were like the biggest get. Like if you showed up, I remember the first time I met the New Brew Thursday guys, you guys had fucking a Dark Lord. I was like, holy fuck, these guys brought Dark Lord. They brought the heat. They brought the heat.
you remember, like, that just seems like such a non-thing anymore too.
Yeah, like nobody gives a shit about any of these beers anymore.
I kind of miss it too because it was fun. I mean,
you tried to like one up each other on who brought the best thing, but I agree. Like when like 1050 started doing their weird variants, and the bottle shop in my neighborhood was like, you can come and get it, but like only one per customer, and yeah, it was like the hot shit.
Yeah. Again, I remember our anniversaries where we'd all bring beer from our cellars or whatever, and then put them in buckets of ice and then open them, and we'd all walk around pouring beer for people, and it was like we're opening, and we'd be yelling like opening I don't know, whatever from whatever year, and people would just like hands and glasses, and you're just like, oh, it's so fun.
I had Tactical Nuclear Penguin at one of your parties.
Yep, that was mine. Maybe it was Steve's, because Steve, I think, ordered a 12-pack like when it first came out.
It was at some barn restaurant. I don't remember where. I drove a long way to go.
It was in Riverside. It was Killarney's, probably.
Possibly, yeah. I don't remember what. I have the glass somewhere.
Yeah, we had it. The first one was at that Churchill's in San Diego, and I think twice we had it at Beechwood. I think it was 2 years we had it at Beechwood.
Yeah, definitely not there.
And then we the last time we had it was at Killarney's in Riverside, which
that was probably it.
No longer exists, and yeah, for good reason.
You know, and so
I know that was a bad night for you guys, but I had a really good time.
At Killarney's?
Yeah, it was a fun one.
Oh, no, I had fun. I want to mean I had a bad night.
I thought, all right, that's getting too into drama, but I thought that was that later that night ended up being kind of not fun for y'all.
No, I think not as far. I think maybe if you're talking about drama between me and Steve, I don't think so. But there was a brief drama with one of the employees there because we were storing beer in the cold box, and I went to get it, and he was trying to give me a hard time, like tough guy stuff, and I'm like, bro,
Oh, really?
yeah, that's. I don't remember anything going on with Steve though.
I pictured John
could
being
be
like,
wrong.
"Do you know who I am, man?
I
I'm
kind of.
John
I was like,
Holzer."
dude, we were just here for 4 hours. Like, what are you doing? I'm going to get my beer. He's like, well, that's stupid stuff. But if there was
Anyway.
Steve and John drama, I forgot about it.
How-
there was
how-
so much of that anyway. So.
How's your stone beer, Jason? I know
This
how
is
much you.
all like dark chocolate. It's really fucking good.
Mhm.
I remember when I
like-
went to go look for beers back in the day, like I'd always try and seek out cool things when I was first starting because I wanted to be like, ooh, look at me, I'm so cool. I'm posting this cool beer to Untapped. And finding the blue bottled Stone was always felt special because you could always find the red labels, like Arrogant Bastard or a couple of others, but the blue label was like
the
super
blue
special.
silk screened
Well,
bottle.
what you have right there.
Oh, okay.
On like on Jason's bottle,
Yeah,
the
yeah,
blue
this one.
Yeah.
meant it was the Imperial Stout.
Yeah. Right. Okay.
And what's funny is I think this beer in the era when all of these beers were considered the like absolute whaliest whales you could get, this beer never was. And I really think it's just because it was always easy to get.
Yeah.
And they made a lot of it.
I
versus-
agree with you there, but I think locally it had a big following.
It did, but it wasn't a beer you could bring to a bottle share and impress people because
Yeah, you're not going to take it to a bottle share in Florida and blow someone's
because it
socks
was
off, you know?
$7.99 for a bomber or whatever, and
Yeah.
you could easily get it for 3 months out of the year. Where like all the other beers, rarity was a big part of it, and I think it's been an overlooked beer, and probably why it's getting voted back to bring it back.
Yeah, and well, it's the same old story with these beers where Stone they discontinued a beer, and people they're outraged and like, how could you do that? That's my favorite beer, and then they're like, when's the last time you bought it? And 6 months ago. Well, there you go. You're not buying it, so we're not going to make it. So it's a good beer to bring back as a onesie.
Like, by the way, did we mention we make seltzer now?
On a
Exactly.
related note, I saw some chatter back and forth where they put Ruination in the mixed 12 pack. The original Ruination they brought back for this mixed IPA pack they have.
Oh, the 12 beers of Christmas or whatever.
I don't think so because it's part of there's a few. It's a pack that has a couple Ruinations in it, and I think the 12 beers is all unique, right?
I'm pretty sure it's.
Or maybe
carry
it's
on,
in
carry
that.
on.
But either way, people were like, I would buy a 12 pack just for Ruination. And then they replied something like, stay tuned, wink.
Oh man,
so
Ruination was
Ruination
like
might be back.
when that was hot too. That was like the harshest beer I'd ever had.
So a friend of mine who just had it, apparently it's in there. Maybe it is the 12 beers of Christmas pack, but like it's apparently just as bitter as you remember. And in today's palates, it's probably even harsher because many beers aren't that bitter anymore.
No,
and
because
we're not used to it.
Yeah, unless you're like hard into the rabbit hole of West Coast IPA, I don't think your palate is going to handle it because anything that's IPA now outside of the West Coast style, and that's only specific West Coast beers, but you're gonna have all these hops, but it's really leaning towards the flavor of the hops as opposed to the bitterness.
All these baby palate bitches, get used to bitter, motherfuckers.
You don't know what bitter is.
So the Stone
fuck.
12 days of IPA mixed pack is Scorpion Bowl, Stone IPA, Delicious IPA, Delicious Citrus IPA, Hazy IPA, Tangerine Express, FML, which is Fear Movie Lions, which I still don't understand that name, but whatever. Delicious Double IPA, Delicious Double IPA, Stone Ruination IPA, 26th anniversary, peak condition, and Japanese green tea.
Okay, you know
Honestly, I may
what?
buy that just because it's 12 different beers.
I would
I'd
get
buy
that, just because I actually like it. Everything that you mentioned that I've had, I actually liked, and the things that you mentioned that I haven't had sound interesting. I'll be honest, like it's any
Scorpion Bowl kind of sucks.
that
It's
one
mid, yeah.
That one's okay, but like
it is mid as fuck. Yes.
Tangerine Express was the shit when it came out.
Tangerine Express is good. Stone IPA, I think, is still a good beer. Don't at me. Delicious IPA, I still buy semi regularly if I can't find anything else.
Mhm.
Stone IPA is legit good. Hazy IPA, I've had it on the show. It's good. The 26th anniversary is good. The green tea,
I've had that. I
okay.
don't remember though.
It's whatever. It's fine. It's good. But Ruination, like it, and it's got the old school Ruination like font on there, like with the serifed letters in there. It's
I
so
think
it's
now's
like
the
they're
time.
saying it's the old school
Stone, just
Ruination.
bring back all your old beers. It's time. We're ready for them.
Just make Stone again.
Oh God, stop
Maybe
it.
not. Maybe not that.
Sorry.
But the IRS, this is as someone who's kind of grown out of love with stouts in general, it's a really fucking good beer.
Yeah, I'm glad I got 4 of them. It's going to be something that I can look for. I can see myself if we move into our new house before December, opening up as like a celebratory kind of thing. It's really really good. Jason, you said the black the dark chocolate, and for me,
Yeah,
it's rich dark chocolate. It's got like a bit of an acrid bite on the like back of your palate, like back of your tongue kind of thing. Perfect carbonation, perfect viscosity. It's not too viscous. Like
it's not too thick. Yeah, like a lot of them
Yeah.
are very like they coat your tongue, and this
But
one doesn't.
if
It
it-
cleans
if it's
up
too-
nice too.
But if it's too thin, then it throws everything off, and it's not.
And
It's
I
great.
think because this is old school Stone, it has bitter on it, which means even
Yeah.
though it comes in with these kind of sweet flavors, it cleans up on your palate and it doesn't linger and give you that cloying taste that most of your modern stouts get.
If anything, the
So-
bitterness and that slight like dark, burnt malt characteristic lingers, and but not like it's like I got to get this off my tongue. It's really good. I'm gonna say I wish it wasn't 10.5%, but I mean that's just what it is. It's got to be that, right? It's it's Imperial Russian Stout, so
Right.
really good.
All right, guys. Way to make me jealous. Jeez.
Well, go
Well,
pick some
Tim-
up, Tim. It's available now in all your finest
Fine
liquor,
retails.
Well,
where-
Tim,
whatever.
we also both have a pastryish variant of what I would consider the best stout in the world. So
Yeah, this is a Parabolita, which
Parabolita, which is a little parabola.
when I first saw that, I saw a post on Twitter from I think from Firestone about it, and I thought it was Parabola in cans, and I was like, "Oh shit!" And then no, it's Parabolita, which it's fine.
So-
I just thought it was Parabola.
because
So for those
parabola
who-
is 13.5 or some shit, and this beer is 9.2%. So it's a small beer version.
But for those who have not seen this yet, it is a salted caramel variant, bourbon barrel aged stout with vanilla beans, cocoa nibs, and sea salt.
So that
And
sounds
I'm-
good to me.
I'm
I don't
vaguely,
have
I'm
one,
like,
but-
I'm intrigued because I've only I hated salted caramel for the longest time. Like the salty sweet combo thing just did not do it for me. And I've slowly been coming around to it. So I am interested, but also kind of like, I got this because I was like, that's fucking weird. So,
I love parabola. I love salted caramel. This should, on paper, be amazing. And I'm curious what this is. So I'm looking at the description on Untapped. A reimagining of parabola. We aged a selection of parabola for 1 year in bourbon barrels and blended it with Velvet Merlin Milk Stout, which is like a
Ooh.
6% beer. So
God.
it's like they blended parabola down with Velvet Merlin, which is kind of neat. And then
It's funny.
they fused with Madagascar vanilla beans, cocoa nibs, and sea salt to get the full salted caramel style drinking experience. So
this is,
it smells like caramel. Like,
Yeah,
holy
dude.
shit.
it smells like like a salted, just you get caramel, but you also get the savory notes.
Oh, yeah.
Jason's got a smile on his face.
I mean, if you like salted caramel, it really is that in a beer.
But it's not overwhelming. It's not like literally eating a piece of caramel with sea salt on it. It's
you're not getting that sharp bite of getting that big chunk of salt that you'd get on that candy, but it really is exactly that.
Yeah,
It-
but like the toasty cocoa nibs kind of help balance it out.
it does have a roasty finish. It kind of lingers on your palate, like with is there coffee in this?
I don't know.
It almost
doesn't
has
say
that
so.
aftertaste like you drank coffee. This is a cool beer. it's sweet, but not too sweet. Like it doesn't
It's
lean in where you're drinking Beatus, and it's
no,
not too thick, which is also the thing we were just talking about in the last beer.
and I think the saltiness helps to not make it overly sweet because Parabola in general, you start getting into a lot of these high alcohol Firestone blends, and you get the alcohol heat, but they tend to be fairly sweet. And I think this one balances. I'm impressed. I retract any negative thoughts I had.
Yeah, they don't mention coffee anywhere on Untapped anyway. It looks like this is taken from the can, the text. So
It's been so long since I've had Jason. Just taking a sip from the bottle, sip from the glass. It's been so long since I've had a Firestone Stout that I had forgotten completely about the fact that they blend literally everything.
Yeah, that's their magic trick. Like that's their
Yeah.
secret, I think, is that they've just got really good blenders.
Oh man, back in the good old days, I went to during LA Beer Week. I got to go to a Firestone Walker beer pairing, food and beer pairing, and it was one of the coolest things.
Yeah, this is like an A+ beer. It just so I took a little sip of the Imperial Stout because I wanted to try them back to back because they're kind of two takes on a similar vibe. And the Stone beer is much more bitter. Which I mean, it's an old school Stone beer, so that's kind of how they do. The Firestone beer is a lot smoother, and it does have those sweet flavors, but it's not a sweet beer. I wouldn't describe it as sweet, which is a plus for me. I don't like sweet beer.
well, just looking at what the label says, it seems to me like it would come off sweet because salted caramel. You called it a pastry beer. So I would expect it to be sweet. So that's a pleasant surprise that it isn't as sweet.
Yeah, it's not that BS pastry stout like over the top. You're gonna have like a a diabetic like reaction to it.
I still think, with a brewery like Firestone, you can kind of trust that even if they're adding in this stuff, they're not going to go overboard with it, right? Where like other breweries would put so much vanilla, it tastes like you're drinking a brownie in a bottle, right? Like,
yeah, exactly. And well, I think that's where you get the balance from the toastiness of it being a stout and the addition of salt helping to not let it go all the way to that sort of like we just put some fucking cake batter in a stout.
And Spectre SR in the chat said kind of my same thought in a more succinct way, which is it's all the great parts of a pastry stout without being overly sweet and cloying. Pastry stout the Firestone way, balanced, and I agree with that 100%.
We were just talking about how breweries like Sierra Nevada and Firestone took hazy IPA that was all over the map as far as quality goes, and refined it to something great. And exactly what he said, it's that's what they did with the pastry stout. It's like, all right, you want a pastry stout? Let's make here's what a well-designed pastry stout should be, as far in our opinion. And that's awesome.
And I think that's the beauty of some of these breweries like that you have all these trendy small breweries that have to hop on the trend, and they have to like, oh, somebody's doing a hazy IPA, right? I got to do a hazy IPA because those are selling. So we got to do it. We just got to get it out. Whereas I think that places, while larger than your average brewery, Sierra Nevada or Firestone, they have the benefit of time to kind of see how is this trend playing out?
Yeah.
How are these flavors working together? Okay, let's take the time to figure out how to get the right balance. And that has really played to their benefit.
How much was this beer?
Oh, fuck, I didn't look. A 6 something, I want to say, like 650.
That's a bargain for a pastry stout if you think about it. Like,
yeah, it was the more expensive of all of the ones that it was the most expensive out of all of the singles that I bought, but I don't think it was over 650, I want to say.
Because a pastry stout, they're in line with like really good hazies where you might pay $15 for a can.
Yeah.
So
nope.
I'm going to call this a rare 4 Brewers endorsed pastry stout.
That's few and far between.
Oh wow,
there's not many of those.
I'm getting the beerists vibes on that. Is it a try, buy, sigh, or whatever they're thinking?
I haven't listened to that show in so long, but I do like that format though. Let's just steal it wholesale.
Oh yeah, okay, fuck it, let's do it.
Yeah, buy it. You should buy it.
Yeah,
you should try it and buy it.
You should absolutely buy one of these. It's a fucking really, if you like stouts at all, or if you like I again, stouts are not my favorite, and these are two really fucking good ones. So good time to be like beer flavored stouts.
And I know that I feel like the audience of our show might be beer nerdy enough to know, like, let your stouts warm up a little bit. But I poured mine into a glass when we started the show, and it was probably about I don't know, 50 minutes to an hour before I tasted it, and it's real nice. Like, it's opened up really well. I did see some reviews on the tap. They're like, it was served too cold. I mean, you run into that problem if you go to a bar, but just an FYI.
You know, beer is never too cold. It can just wait.
That's true.
Like somebody gives you like an icy glass. You know, those people that would get really mad about iced glasses. It's like just wait. It'll get warm. If you want it warmer, just hang tight for 5 minutes.
You could wrap your hands around it and just use your body heat.
That's right.
I did that with the can because I put the cans in the fridge. I didn't want because they were kind of warmish warm. They weren't,
Chilled warm.
Yeah. So for the first like 3 minutes while we were talking, it was just I was under the table rotating the can in my hand. So yeah, very sexy.
Yeah, that's what you're doing under the table. John's just cranking hog during every episode.
Sitting here. What's that tweet? The fake Joe Biden. Just here stroking my dick. I got lotion on my dick right now.
Oh, I think we need to cut this like about a minute and a half ago.
Yeah.
Dude, the implosion of Twitter this week, while kind of sad, has been really funny.
I don't. It's been, if you listen to any podcasts that are tech related, it's been beaten to death. So I don't want to talk about it. But it's just, I have lost any confidence I've had in Elon Musk being a smart person. Is just this person is fucked.
I hope it kills this idiot's fucking myth forever. He's Gavin Belson from Silicon Valley. He always has been. He's just the guy in charge, so everyone assumes he must be smart.
Yep.
It's a fucking moron.
That is an excellent association.
That it really is. Yeah. That's because I told Ivana, I go, some people, used to think of Elon Musk as like a real life Tony Stark kind of guy. That's a billionaire who could, invent shit, and it's coming out. It's like, no, he's a troll. That he's a rich kid that
happened to be able to hire the right people.
Exactly.
A 50-something-year-old man who has all the money in the world, and rather than spending time with any of his 10 kids, is posting shitty Reddit memes for fucking tweens to fucking be like, great memes, sir. You're the smartest man in the world. That's like, he's Twitter poisoned. Fucking idiot.
I hate that he bought Twitter so much. And people, again, I listen to a lot of tech podcasts.
Hate that he bought Twitter.
Yeah, he does. And they're like, well, let's give him the benefit of the doubt. We'll see what happens. And not even a week later, it's like, oh my God.
I hated it from the beginning, and I was willing to give it the benefit of the doubt because, yes, while the companies that he has put together have somehow managed to be big things, this has just been like the shittiest of shit shows. And that's because you're trying to take over a platform where people are already on there and already trolling. Like, you're not starting something new that doesn't have a public interface. Now you're doing this thing, and like, what's
the whole thing with the blue check mark and just not even making it look different for people who subscribe to Twitter? That's
the whole firing everyone. And
I know that's the whole point, because the check mark is a prestige kind of thing. And he's like, look, now you can own it. And it's like, well, now you're watering down its meaning, and you're making Twitter a dangerous place, as we saw where Joe Biden was stroking his dick with lotion.
Or the Eli Lilly lost $30 billion in market cap because of the fake tweet. Not that we should support overpriced drug companies.
That's
but
a win on both sides.
Yeah.
That's why it's been hilarious, because like watching all of the very predictable negative things happen from the world's biggest moron making the world's dumbest decisions, it's just like, oh wow, this is blowing up in his face, and he's like, no, we're turning it off. Now there's a new check. No, I canceled the old check, and the racists don't like the new check, so we turned it on again, and then we're doing this, and it's just watching a moron just completely fumble, and it's hilarious.
Yeah.
Except for Twitter's gonna die, which sucks. I actually like Twitter.
Twitter is bad, as bad as it is at certain times, and especially when Trump was president. It's still my favorite social media platform. I check it every day. I get news from Twitter. I've met people through Twitter.
Yahoo's going to buy it for $5 million in like a year.
And then we're gonna have Twombler.
Tumblr's selling a blue check for $8, and but they advertised it on Twitter, and it's got but their blue check gives you 2 blue checks.
That's
and
brilliant.
they advertised it with everybody needs to feel important. Get a blue check so you can be important at Tumblr, and it turns out you can stack them on Tumblr too. So if you just buy it more than once, you get double blue checks, like as many blue checks as you want.
D-Brand is making blue check stickers. They came out. They were quick with it too. They got them to Marquez Brownlee in no time at all.
Overnight, it became the mark of the fucking loser. Like it's like,
See, I was worried. Because I paid for Twitter Blue, and I'm like, am I going to get a blue check? I don't want a blue check.
Yeah, you don't want the loser mark. It's Elon's special boys mark now, and it's like, no, we don't want any of that shit.
Yeah, fuck that.
Just block on site, as Drill says. Block on site.
All right.
Yeah, I don't know, but that's we'll see what happens with Twitter. I'm not optimistic though. The dude's got to pay $1 billion in interest every year, and yeah, he is a billionaire, but still a lot of money for a billionaire.
The key of
know?
being a billionaire is you don't use your own fucking money.
Well, yeah, that's how
Look, you guys, Imperial Russian Stout is back. Twitter's fail whaling again. It's just like 10 years ago.
Hey, how about that? Brilliant.
We're bringing
cool.
it
That's
all
a good
back.
spot to end the show.
I love it.
All right. Well, you can stop recording then.
No, I will never stop recording.
Don't stop.
Yeah, no, it's been like people are saying like this is the best week on Twitter since Trump got COVID, and I'm like 100%. It really is just like the other thing was like it's like substitute teacher energy where it's like you all need to stop this right now, and everyone's just like fuck you.
That is also very accurate.
And they fired so many moderators that they can't even keep up with this shit. So all of these like horrible fake brand accounts are staying up for like days. It's fucking great.
I mean, it's you can tell how it's just this. Maybe they had too many employees at Twitter, but to fire half the staff is just like you are just scrambling for ways to save money
and doing it overnight. The thing is, there's no possible way that you could actually decide who needs to go and who doesn't in that short of a time.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Like spend a month being like, okay, what's important? What does this department do? Who's the most effective in it? But they were just like, no, you need to get rid of half your people by tomorrow. It's like, okay, great. Yeah, that's not going to lead to any mistakes.
Yeah. It fucking sucks.
Those people will find jobs. They'll be all right. It's like, where'd you work before? Twitter. All right, say no more. So we know why you don't work there anymore.
You are hardcore and
like
probably a great employee.
We have psychiatric help on staff.
Oh man.
Well, I gotta go. I gotta call my dad. He just got out of the hospital for we bought my dad an Apple Watch, the Ultra, for his
put him
birthday.
In the hospital?
Yeah.
And he gave him high heart rate notifications, and he has AFib, and he was in the hospital for 48 hours getting treatment. And doctor was like, yep, if you didn't have an Apple Watch, you probably wouldn't come in because my dad couldn't feel it. And another story of the Apple Watch probably saving someone's life. Literally. I put it on him, and we were at the house just finishing up cleaning it up because we sold the house, and he had been sitting for about 10 or 15 minutes, and I put it on, and it has the ECG feature where it shows you, your heart, and he went to do it, and his heart rate was 150, and he had been sitting for, like I said, 10 minutes. And I'm like, Dad, that's too high.
Yeah, serious.
And he's like, well, I don't feel anything. And so I'm like, well, try it again. Maybe something's up with the watch. And it's like, nope. And I'm like, okay. And we were busy and stuff. I'm like, well, wear the watch, and if you need to let me know if you get any notifications. And he did. Got, I think 10 or 12 over the last month. So
is he okay though?
He just got home. Yeah. So, but he was in there for probably 24 hours, and he was on an IV of something, and then blood thinners, because if you have AFib, you could develop blood clots.
Yep.
And so they were monitoring him. He was going to leave yesterday, and then right when they were getting ready to let him go, his heart rate went back up, and so they kept him. And all the medication they're giving him to take orally, they basically gave him over the last 12 hours, and they wouldn't have let him go if it didn't stabilize. So
Yeah. Well, good.
he's at home.
Well, sweet. Yeah, it's good to hear.
Yeah, I was very worried though. Cause,
Keep that Apple Watch charged. Shit, that's amazing.
Well, he likes the watch too because it's the Ultra and they're kind of beefy looking.
Yeah.
And my dad likes watches like that, and he thought it was really cool. When he's like, "This looks awesome," because he didn't. I don't know if he liked the old one or not, but the old one wouldn't have suited him. He's kind of a bigger, rugged dude, and it would have looked fine. But the new one is beefy enough for him to like because he likes those big, you know,
the ones
watches.
that are off the side, like literally bigger than your wrist.
Yeah, he bought me one, and the crown on one that he bought me sticks out like probably a half inch from the watch. And I'm just like, how do you wear this? It's so big. But he likes those bigger watches. So
I just don't like watches. So the whole segment, I'm just like, well, it doesn't matter how good it is. I just don't want to have something on my wrist. So, oh well.
Yeah, I get that.
Yeah.
Well, I hope everything
also,
stays good, dude.
I don't know if they updated
I think
Audacity or what, but it exported that shit like in like a quarter of the normal time.
Yeah, that was good.
Hopefully the file's okay.
Yeah.
Does it play back?
Seems to. It's like the normal size file and everything. It just did it in like 15 seconds where normally it takes like 2 minutes. I did reinstall Windows lately, and there is a new Audacity version. So maybe
that's it right there.
Maybe that helps.
All right.
Dudes. I'll catch y'all later.
Yeah, I'm just going to end it here. So everyone, thanks for hanging out. Thanks to Kyle from the chat for resubscribing on Twitch.
And
for
good seeing
32
11
months in a row, tier 1.
Nice.
Shout out
it was good
to
seeing 11 people.
A bunch of folks showed up on YouTube that we haven't seen a lot. So Stephen Tuomi here. I hope I pronounced it right. Mark McLean, Batvid Vision. They're coming in with some cool chats. I didn't want to throw them up because John was talking about serious stuff, but I want to give them shout outs for hanging out with
for
us.
sure. That's
awesome.
Sandro Chiavaro was in there too.
Sandro, who's an old friend of the show, coming in. But yeah, it's cool to see some new folks in here that we don't normally see a lot. So thanks guys for hanging out.
Yeah.
And I don't know if we're recording next weekend, but
next Saturday I've got a car show and like Aiden's in band, and it's like really fucking our lives. Like there's a lot.
Extracurriculars, man.
He's had 3 competitions this week and a parade.
Oh my god! What does he play? The drum, the
vibraphone.
The vibra. I thought it was like okay, that's a percussion thing. So okay, maybe that's
he's a vibist. If you play the vibraphone, you're a vibist.
That is the most millennial. Like that's the most. Yeah. Okay.
Millennials didn't make up that name. It's been for like 100 years ago.
I'm a vibist.
Vibing.
I vibe.
All right, so you're a mid vibist, Tim.
If Twitter's still a thing next week, keep your eyes on Twitter to see when we'll be recording next.
If Twitter's still up, otherwise find us on Mastodon.
Go to Counter Social and
I'm on.
Hopefully it won't crash.
I'm on Kith.kitchen. It's a cooking themed incidents of Mastodon. I actually like Mastodon. It reminds me of Google Plus a lot.
I've never been on. I mean, aside from the whatever Counter Social variant of Mastodon they're using instance, that's the only interaction I've ever had with anything related to Mastodon. So,
I mean, yeah, Counter Social is just a Mastodon instance. So, like,
yeah, but that's all I've had.
Mastodon's pretty cool.
We'll see.
All right, y'all. Thanks for hanging out, and we'll see you next time.
Bye.
Cheese, bro.